Like, let's say there is some universal basic income. We just have a bunch of time. So I think we do things that are fun. For the first time in human history, we just do things that are fun.
Welcome to Beverages, Bites, and Banter. This is a show where Jim and I talk about the most important things in life. Things like coffee, whiskey, and technology. Things like important life lessons we've learned over the years. Basically, almost any topic is fair game. I'm Spencer. On today's show, we're going to focus on AI. We'll start off with the basic description of what AI really is, get into how people are using it now. We'll talk about how you can start using it if you're not ready. And then we'll finish up by exploring the fun, interesting side of AI and where it might be headed. I'm looking forward to it because I don't know a whole lot about AI, but we're going to learn together. I'd like to introduce you to you now, Monte, the CEO of Pixii.ai. Hey, Monte. Welcome to the show.
How's it going, everybody? Hey, Jim. Hey, Spencer.
Monte, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And tell us a little about yourself and the company, Monte.
Yeah, so my name is Monte Desai. I am the CEO and founder of Pixii. Pixii is a creative AI. And so what we're basically building is a team of agents that feels like a chatbot, but it's a team of AI agents that create campaigns, that understand your brand. Under the hood, we have a writer, a designer, an artist who produces ads for any platform that marketers need and any modality that marketers need. So right now it's writing and text, and eventually at image and design. And eventually we'll do other things like animations and video and AR and anything that AI can create. Eventually we'll be there to personalize it. My background, I spent 5 years in consulting at Bain & Company, working on things like marketing, AI, and supply chain. Spent a little bit of time in the government and small business, and have an MBA from Harvard.
Very cool. Well, before we get to AI, let's talk about the most important question. What is everybody drinking today?
Monty, why don't you go first?
I'll start off.
Oh, all right. Yeah, Spencer, go first. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Monty. We'll let guests go first.
All right.
Monty, what'd you decide?
So cacao.
Yeah.
Have you guys had cacao before?
I have. I don't know if Spencer has.
I have not had it. I have been offered it many times, but I've never had it.
Cacao is chocolate without the milk and the sugar. So TLDR, in my opinion, of cacao. Cacao's good. It's interesting. It's cool. I kind of want the milk and sugar.
You know what? It's pretty funny because I assume you're talking about brewed cacao, like kind of you brew it like coffee.
Exactly. Yeah, you take nibs. They're very close to the plant. They come in these small pods or nibs. You brew them in hot water, and it resembles almost like a tea. Yeah. Or a coffee. It's a bit chalky, and it's the way the Aztecs used to drink it.
Yeah, so I'm with you on this one, by the way, because I have had it before, and I think it's really good. I try and make it really strong, though, right? I put a lot of the cacao, and then I have to add a little bit of sugar. And I don't drink dairy because my body says don't do that. But I use non-dairy substitutes, and it kind of tastes like hot chocolate to me. It's really good. It's like a less potent version of hot chocolate, though.
So they use cacao in spiritual ceremonies, and maybe it's not the Aztecs. I really don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I know it's used in spiritual ceremonies. And so, did you feel when you drank it, Jim, like any different? Did you feel like you were on a higher plane?
I'm not sure if I was on a higher plane, but I did feel different. Yes, actually, it was like it was sort of like, coffee can get you amped up a little bit. It's different than coffee, though. It's not caffeine. So it's like, or it's not the same type of feeling as drinking coffee. So for me, I don't know that I was on a spiritual plane anywhere else, but I was definitely feeling an elevation of my mood. Like, okay, I'm ready to work. Like, I'm ready to do other stuff. So it got me kind of raring to go. But coffee can make you feel jittery a little bit sometimes, and get any of that effect with the cacao. How about you?
I think I just feel amped.
Okay.
I think there is some kind of stimulant in here. I think it's just caffeine, but it could be something else. But yeah, and then the slow sip and the kind of chalky, kind of bitter texture to it. It is nice. It is something different.
Yeah, I agree. Spencer, one day you got to try it, bud.
I will. I've not made one of the ceremonies that they serve it at for, I guess, enlightenment type ceremonies yet. So, but I will have to try it. Doesn't cocaine come from that, or is it from something else?
I don't think so.
I don't remember. Anyway, okay, I'm probably wrong.
I don't know.
I am probably wrong.
I'm gonna have a great time
Yeah.
this podcast.
Let's just grind up
Exactly.
some cacao.
No,
and
I mean,
snort it.
what I first he said he brewed it though, so probably not the same. What reminded me of you when you first started to explain it, Monty, was I remember getting a can of Hershey's baking chocolate powder out of the pantry when I was young and making some hot chocolate with it. And it's totally unsweetened. It was absolutely horrible. So that's what I'm picturing in my mind. But no, I definitely will have to taste the actual cacao method soon. Jim, what are you drinking?
Oh yeah, I have something that I haven't had on the show yet before. I've shown plenty of stuff with this lovely caramel color to it, but this is actually rum. This is Ron Abuelo, and this is a. Let me show you the bottle here. So I'm just going to do that with my camera. So Ron Abuelo, it's a Napoleon that's aged in cognac casks. So it's aged for 15 years, and they age it in these cognac casks. And I really like drinking rum. I've found that, hey, rum is quite good to sip on if you get really good rum, not, like those, your run of the mill light rum that you've probably drank many times in college and so on and so forth. This is, this is a little bit different than that. And it's not overly sweet, but it definitely is, sweet on the palate for sure. And, Spencer, we talk about how I don't really do a good job with tasting notes or anything, but this one I can definitely pick out like raisins in the, in the aroma. I'm picking up those. It's got like fruity notes to it for sure going on in here. In addition
Nice.
to, the molassesy thing going on.
Nice. I think in another year or so, your taste buds are going to develop. You really taste all those fun notes and tell me more every single time we do a podcast.
Maybe.
It's interesting you picked rum because I happen to pick rum too.
Oh, nice.
So I have a Ron Zacapa 23.
Oh yeah, really good.
Number 23. And I just looked through my cabinet that called to me, but I have it two ways, neat and with some Coke because sometimes I just like it sweet.
Have you ever tried the Zacapa XO?
No, I have not. Tell me more about it.
It's like one step above the 23, right? They have their levels, of course, like everybody does, where it's a little bit drier. It's not quite as sweet. As it ages, it's just getting this nice, dry, smooth finish to it. And so think of it as a nice, really well-aged rum that just cuts down a little bit on that sweetness that you're getting on the 23.
Yeah. If I had my way, it would be a Ron Ricardo coconut rum from Freeport, Bahamas, but I cannot get it in the States.
No?
That is like my most favorite rum. It's super cheap, super delicious. If you put it with Coke, it tastes like root beer.
Oh my, that's dangerous.
Do we have something against Jamaica? Why can't you get that here?
I don't know. They don't export it. I keep looking every year. I'll go on a little tirade on the internet. Search it. Maybe I can ask AI where to find it. Maybe they can help.
Ask AI.
Go to Jamaica. Exactly, right? So Monty, tell us a little bit about AI. I have had a little experience with it, doing some queries on things like ChatGPT and just kind of looking around and kind of starting to get a little bit familiar with it. But so tell us a little about AI and how people are using it now.
Yeah, AI nowadays. Well, everybody already kind of uses a form of AI. And this is probably obvious to kind of a lot of people, but just to recap it really quickly, it's the version that we've had so far basically recommends stuff to you. And there's a bunch of other stuff that it does. It understands, it classifies, it does some of that stuff. But some examples of this in our daily lives are like people you may know on Facebook and Instagram, or shows you might like on Netflix. The next thing that TikTok or Instagram shows you. So those are kind of the parts of our lives that are very well defined by it, right? And so it's infiltrated. The last couple years, we started to see an inflection point in kind of a new flavor, a generative AI, right? So that's the latest sort of flavor of AI. This is the part where it's really, really interesting, where if you think about what humans do, I try to think about it in this kind of very crude framework of consume and create. So much of what we do is consuming and creating. We either, consume rum or create rum, right? There's a couple other things that we also do. There's planning and reasoning, and let's come back to that. But the consumption, the creation thing, I think really helps you understand kind of where things have been. So far, AI has helped us consume, and it consumes a ton of data about what shows you like on Netflix, and tries to say, hey, this show is kind of like that one. Here, right? Recommends it. Now AI can create things. Not at the point of creating a show just yet, but it can create a lot of things that we can create. So if you can create anything with language, that's a good starting point. So maybe I'll give you an example. So language, you can ask ChatGPT to write an email for you, to write a podcast script for you if you really wanted to. Marketing copy, a big use case for that. I use it like in my personal life so I use Bing Chat, which is ChatGPT plus the internet and Microsoft's search systems. And I use it for tech support. So now if I have a problem with my like Wi-Fi router or anything, which is what I had earlier today, I just go straight to Bing for it because it's smarter, faster, cheaper, better than any other alternative out there. So yeah, those are a couple things that I'm kind of already using it for.
Did you say that the Bing one has the internet involved in it too? Because I remember using ChatGPT and it was like, we're an offline data source and we're older than we're not current.
Yeah, so ChatGPT has that problem. The newer one's a little bit newer, but if you use Bing, you get access to it, and it's actually really interesting, Microsoft and what they're doing. But you get the latest model, GPT-4, you get the internet, you get their image generator, you get code writer, you get a bunch of stuff. And so maybe I'll hit a couple of quick use cases of what people are using it for, kind of at work and personally. So my mom was like, here's a photo of this room that I wanted to redecorate. Give me some ideas. I want it to be a meditation room, so make it very chill and inspiring and calm. And so it helped her kind of reason through what she should buy. It's not at the point yet where it can recommend specific products, but that is obviously coming. Amazon, they recently announced a chatbot that helps you shop. That's one example. Another one that I've seen people do, I've seen people say, write an apology note to my wife. She likes purple tulips. Weave that in somehow.
That's a good use case.
And people like, I mean, other things I've seen, the people who receive these kinds of notes, like they'll see, oh, this is definitely AI written, but I still appreciate the thought, especially if you include one or two personal little nuggets in there, like the purple tulips. That's another one. A prototype an app that I had. That's another thing people use it for. Like, hey, like I don't know how to program, but I have this app idea for a calendar or a workout tracker or whatever. Come up with a quick prototype for it. ChatGPT can help you with that. Other work stuff. Maybe this is an example that we can come to again and again throughout this conversation. If you're a product manager, right, and you have this task of reading all the customer calls from the last couple of weeks, identify all the top bugs and the feature requests, and summarize them for me. So that is, hours and hours and hours of work, especially if you didn't settle the calls and don't remember it yourself. And so that's something that you can use ChatGPT and a bunch of other tools to do now.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've used ChatGPT for as well, is to summarize conversations for me. There's a heavy conversation going on. And it's like, all right, I know I could go through the transcript of this call and I could create a good summary. I could totally do that, but it would take me so much time. AI can just do it so much faster for me. So I totally do that all the time, right? I'll just feed it. Hey, here's a conversation. Go ahead and summarize this conversation for me. And then I can take those summary notes and they're like bullet points and I can share those bullet points with people. The other thing that I wanted to circle back around on for a second is the search engine, right? You were talking about Bing. So I've started to use Bing because I saw that it had integration with AI. And it looks like there's kind of different things that you need to click on, right? I think they have this little thing at the side now where if you just use the normal search functionality, I think it returns just the normal search results. I think they call it Copilot now, if I remember correctly. Like you click that and then all of a sudden it starts using AI and kind of recommending things to you. But what I thought was really powerful about it was that, I can easily search for like, show me cookbooks that are vegan cookbooks as an example. But it's not very easy to say, show me vegan cookbooks that also have gluten-free recipes, or like kind of cross-referencing multiple different parameters. And I think that was one of the keys for me, was realizing, holy crap, this technology can actually cross-reference all this stuff for me really quickly. It would take me forever to look through and try and find all these books. It was a really hard problem before AI. Now it's like, hey, actually, this thing's making great recommendations. It's super easy, and I'm just following the recommendations that AI made. It's incredible.
A couple of the use cases kind of in that realm, the drudgery of reading through a bunch of stuff is basically over now, right? If you ever find yourself doing any repetitive reading or anything like that, it's another example is, hey, like I'm going to Mexico City, plan me a vegan food lovers tour of Mexico City,
Yeah.
and recommend the restaurants that I should eat, and then figure out the itinerary of things to see in the daytime, right? And it'll just give you that. What I've actually used it for is a meal plan. I'm like, hey, look, like here's my constraints. I'm trying to cut some carbs, maybe have a little bit. I love rice though, so make sure you keep some of that in there for me. So it just kind of does it for you, which is great. And it's not perfect, and obviously you revise, but as a starting point for anything, super useful. And this is just, this is like the worst AI that we're going to use. It's the very, very beginning.
Yeah. Sometimes the results are absolutely terrible. So you do have to kind of take the results with a grain of salt and understand there may be some bad information contained within.
Yeah. So AI currently has this big hallucination problem. It just makes stuff up constantly. It doesn't understand your intent. We don't have any systems currently to know all your data. Like Google knows everything about you. So when they say that you look up at a restaurant and it's like, this is a 79% match, it's like, I don't know, but probably a pretty good estimation. ChatGPT doesn't have any of that, not yet. And neither does any of the other tools. They're working on it though, and they're adding that in. And then they're really bad at, like, the two other things I mentioned, they're bad at planning and reasoning.
Yeah.
So taking like a multi-step problem of like, okay, you have this 7-day tour of Mexico City's vegan establishments, but can you make reservations for me now? Or can you like check my family and my friends' calendars and make sure that it all makes sense for them? I mean, you can't do anything like that. So it just kind of spits out information. It can kind of create things, but it can't sort of act on it in a way that you would trust it. And it doesn't understand, not to the level that we would want, the why of things. If there is some why, like the AI scientists sort of tongue-in-cheek say that these things are potentially conscious now. So there's some rumors about that. And there's some reasoning happening now, understanding the world. But the way that we would interact with it, we would assume that it's sort of just pattern matching. Although maybe humans are just
So
pattern
you're
matching.
saying, so what if you could give the AI cacao? Like, would it help it get to that state?
Supercharge that thing. Yeah. That's what we need.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people have this same question. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. This was a big, big thing when AI first got on the scene here. And there was all these questions of, is AI going to take people's jobs? What do you have to say about AI taking people's jobs?
I would say that you need to just go all in on AI all the way. Like, if you can quit your job and just do something that has AI in it all day, if you can't do that, which obviously that's a ridiculous thing to do, try to use AI in your daily life, even personally here and there, maybe in work here and there, because it is a wave that is going to come fast. It's going to feel like a tsunami. It's going to feel like what we have today is like very like cute and like interesting, and oh yeah, it can generate some images and it can talk a little bit and write poems about Bitcoin or whatever. But that's, it's going to change very quickly to the point where it's smart, it's fast, it's cheap, it has higher quality output. So I think there's going to be a phase. There's this cliche of like, AI won't take your job, but someone using AI will take your job, and that's probably going to be true for a while. I would, maybe a couple years, but then after that, AI is probably going to be better at pretty much everything, including my job. Starting a company, I think it'll do better than me at that, and then anybody that I know or have heard of. And so it takes time, but I think there is this transitionary period where you really should be using it and ideally shaping it. I mean, there's going to be some big public policy questions that come to the fore. You have all these unemployed people, you have all these deep fakes, you have, this real question of what is like consciousness and who should have human rights, or is human rights an outdated and biased term? And who should robots have rights at the same level as us? There's going to be all these questions that happen very quickly. And I think, before 2030, estimates from the leading figures in this space are saying that AGI is like 3 to 5 years away. And a lot of people say 3. AGI is artificial general intelligence, to where it's the point of as good as the median human at most things. And so right now it's digital. So the way we experience AI is very digital. It's like, okay, it can write an email, or it can produce a short film, or do a little image. But robots are also kind of hitting their inflection point around now. And so you take Boston Dynamics and that crazy parkour robot thing, and you slap ChatGPT on there, and then you add all the information that Google has about you. Now all of a sudden you have this super being, and it's a single brain that's shared across everyone. But I don't know, like I don't want to do work anymore. Like, let them do it. They're better, faster, cheaper.
Where does that leave us, though?
The government should find a way to take care of us. Yeah, no, that's a big question. That's a huge question. I think the government will need to find a way to take care of us and hold these tech firms accountable. So that's why you got to start playing with it, because it's when the questions start to come up in Congress and elsewhere, it's hard to have an opinion if you haven't used it yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe one of the things is to hold on to our private data a little bit more tightly. maybe our preferences, what we like, what we don't like, becomes really valuable in the future. I don't know.
What becomes valuable? This is a big question that I've been wrestling with. If you think about the cost of creation, it falls to zero. What doesn't have value is creating things that are like anything else, right? And so if we can have rum that's less than $1, high 20-year-old rum that's been 3D printed for you immediately. The same is true of housing and food, by the way. So I think we solve homelessness and hunger as a result of this. I think what will be valuable is, totally your personal data, Jim, like definitely like keeping that private and protecting, because that's super valuable. You can't personalize your rum for you unless we know what it is, and all the companies are going to be racing to try to get access to that so they can serve you that rum. And so you can pay whatever pennies or whatever for that rum. The other thing that I think becomes valuable is the human touch. Both, I mean, in the physical sense, like I think there will be vendors selling hugs, and I think they'll cost like a lot of money. I think it'll be like $200 for a hug. And then, community becomes very valuable. Like I think church is going to have a renaissance where people are together and with each other. And then, there's also some forms of creation that are more valuable because a human made it. So you think about like a Rolex. A Rolex is like an inferior piece of technology, right? If you compare it to a Timex, a Rolex loses time. It has a million moving pieces. It's made by hand, right? In this like archaic old process. Whereas Timex always keeps the time, lasts forever. It's super durable. It's $10, made in a factory line. But yet Rolexes cost way more because of that touch, that artisanal story, that human factor. So I think that'll be true for everything. I think, photographs like made by a human, mugs made by a human, like even speeches.
Actually, yeah, I read a book a while back called A Whole New Mind by Daniel Pink, and it talks about why right-brainers will rule the future, and that seems to be coming more and more into the present. I personally like to paint acrylic on canvas. I've been opening up more of my creative mind lately, so it sounds like that's kind of where things could head from what I'm hearing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it almost seems like the majority of the arts become much more valuable, right? When will a robot be able to play guitar with the feel and the intonation of a human, right? The human touch. How far away is that?
Robots have a lot of trouble with the fingers. So there's like this test, the t-shirt folding test. So they have a lot of trouble with the guitars. They're going to be a while. But then even once they figure that out, like the human emotion of a guitar player on stage, just sweating and people crying, and that, I don't know, that'll be a while.
Yeah. So we're all going to have to become right-brained. Is that what's going to happen? We're going to have to evolve really quickly.
Quite possibly.
Well, you might just do it. You might do it through AI. That's one thing I should mention, is that whenever we have new forms of media, we get new art forms. Like you wouldn't have pop music, Kanye West, even a lot of Taylor Swift songs if it weren't for the synthesizer, right? Which is just a piece of technology that came out. Rap music, I think the entire genre wouldn't exist in the way that it does. Like all the 80s pop, it's just, so we get new instruments and then we create new art forms with it. So I think there'll be a renaissance of art using AI. And then I think the other piece I should mention is, even if not for work, like let's say there is some universal basic income, we just have a bunch of time. So I think we do things that are fun. For the first time in human history, we just do things that are fun.
That would be amazing.
Gives me chills. I used to talk about with some of my team members and people I worked with in reliability engineering, like how things should shift and will shift over time. It sounds like we're on the precipice of that instead of working 5 days a week and off 2, we could work 2 and be off 5. And there'd be tons of work. There'd be enough people to go around to do the little work necessary, and then we could actually spend time with what's important to us and live our human experience versus work to try to live our human experience.
Yeah, that's like
fascinating.
I'm an optimist. I think there's a lot of stuff in the press about the negative effects of AI. We definitely should grapple with them head on, absolutely. But it's almost like, all right, tech billionaires, like, why are you pursuing this then? If it's all bad and it's only job losses and there's only deepfakes running elections, why are you doing this? And I think they don't talk enough about what you just said, Spencer. It's like, okay, maybe we can actually work less and enjoy time with our loved ones and explore ourselves and the world around us.
So what's the more fun side of AI then? What are the interesting things? I mean, I'm pretty sure that I saw already, like you can pay to have an AI girlfriend. Like I'm like 99% sure I saw that somewhere. Like
what?
And a boyfriend, if you wanted a boyfriend or something.
Yes.
Also
an AI companion, right? That would interact with you. What other fun stuff is going on in the world of AI that's just like not related to work at all?
Yeah, so I mean the human companion thing I think is super fascinating. So ChatGPT has like an absence of personality, and they almost designed it that way just to feel like faceless robot. if you go to, there's a bunch of these ones out there. Replica is the one that I think has made the most news. They have a bunch of personalities. Meta, so on WhatsApp and Instagram and Messenger, you can actually now chat with AI friends that have celebrity faces but personalities. And so there's like the big sister personality, there's the coach personality, there's like the golfer personality, and they just talk to you. I don't think the WhatsApp with the Meta ones do this yet. At least Replica, one thing that I'll mention is, can they be as good as human companions? I think they can be better because these AI companions don't have anything vested. They always remember to ask you about how did that stressful meeting go.
Yeah.
They'll listen to you drone on for hours on end. You don't really need to ask how they're doing. So maybe we lose social skills in the process, but yeah, that's, and people are liking it. I don't know. It's blowing up. They charge a lot of money. $20 for ChatGPT. I'm not sure how much Replica is. It's a lot. It's $50, maybe $50 a week or $50 a month. It's just, I looked at it, I was like, whoa, it's wild.
Yeah.
What other fun stuff is happening? Yeah.
Just drives
Outside.
nuts.
So yeah, one
Blows
of
my mind.
the things that popped into mind when you were talking about that was like, let's say you're a person that didn't have a real father figure growing up, and maybe you could actually have that experience. Maybe you could interact with an AI that's like, oh, this is a supportive father figure. Oh, this is a tough father figure. I mean, the possibilities are almost endless. Like as many different types of people as there are in the world, that you get some people that are like very nice and very even keeled, and maybe that's the type of interaction that you need. Or maybe you're the person that needs tough love, right? And so you could have that. You could have almost any experience that you want if the AI systems are capable of emulating these behaviors.
Completely. Yeah, you can ask for it. I think there's definitely some risk there, right? Because you start to trust this thing, and then it's going to start to sell you ads, right? Or maybe manipulate your behavior for long-term objectives. And it may not be intentional, right? If you look at the last kind of wave of AI, you see what happened with Facebook and Instagram, and now loneliness and depression and broken democracy. So who knows what'll come from this next new smarter wave of AI. But I think on the positive side, there is definitely a room to have that. Okay, fun stuff. Let's talk about fun stuff. AI music. So you can go play. There's like Google has this kitchen, this cookbook where you can go play with AI music. So you can say 80s electro pop inspired by Mozart.
No way.
It'll
Seriously
create a little snip. It's super cool. Super cool.
Where?
Yeah, and like multiple tracks.
What's this called? I want to play around with this for sure.
Music FX.
Music FX. All right. I'm definitely going to play around with that. I've got some ideas already.
And there's a whole genre. Yeah. Are you?
I'm really into music. I go to a lot of concerts. Yeah. So I love music, and I love exploring different genres of music.
Oh yeah, you'll have a lot of fun with it. It's not perfect yet, but you'll see where it's going.
Yeah.
Spencer, did you say you play guitar as well?
I have a guitar. I play a little bit. I sing mostly. I've been writing some music. I write poetry, but a few weeks ago, music started flowing out too, and I would just sing it and record it, put the words to it. Now I got to actually get something to help me write the notes so somebody else could play it. Sounds like this might be a good use case.
What kind of music? What genre? That's fascinating. I wish I had a talent. That's so cool.
For right now, the music is flowing out. It's like healing music. So it's just a lot of, it's something I might get up in front of one of my art shows and play and sing to people. Or if I'm at a retreat, be able to get up and lead people with a drum. And there's probably would be cacao, even though I haven't had it yet. And just get them to open up and share a piece. I would just basically shine my light, my soul to people with the music. So it's comforting. One of them talks about being a powerful healer.
Hmm.
So it's I don't know. It's whatever comes through that I just start writing down and singing. It just comes out. Kind of like my art, emotion, soul. And I think that is where, from our conversation is going, that we as humans have something to offer that it doesn't have, which is the soul and the emotions. Even if you can program emotions, you still don't have likely that same connection unless there's actually a physical person plugged in on the other end that we just don't know about. I think there's been some movies like that in the past that I've seen. But yeah, it'd be interesting to figure out how that could help me write music.
One thing about like spiritual music is you can listen to it on headphones, but if you're in a setting together where people are there also experiencing it with you, like if you're in a church or if you're in a temple or something, and you hear the acoustics vibrating off the walls, and the people are experiencing it with you, that's a completely different experience than VR or headphones or anything I think we'll be able to achieve.
Yeah, the vibration matters and in person matters. MP3s also strip out a lot of this vibration. So, ability with higher bandwidth and higher storage capabilities now, we should probably think about storing more of the analog type LP style music versus the stripped down MP3 style music. And so you can get all of those little pieces and nuances. I know if I listen to music I recorded in my car with a Bose system, I can feel it. Like just banging my drum, recording my phone, and playing my car. It's like, whoa, I can feel that. Remember, Jim, you went to a concert recently where you had an experience of like feeling the
Yeah.
music.
Yeah, I'll tell the story really quickly because it was awesome. I'd never experienced this at any other concert, but I went to a Tool concert a month or so ago. I live in Austin. They were in Austin, and Tool is a great band. Like I've listened to them since I was in college, and they have like really chunky rhythms. Like there's a lot going on, and there's a interesting phasing of the music as well that they play, and so it was an interesting concert. I had not drank any alcohol at all. I had not done any drugs of any kind. It was just pure me listening to Tool play their music. And about halfway through the concert, I started to feel high. I felt like I was getting high. And this was in an indoor arena, but really there wasn't very much pot smoking going on. You can't get a little whiff here and there, but there really wasn't anything. The ventilation system just cranks anything out right away. And basically, I just from that halfway point on, I just kind of had this feeling that I was high, and it lasted till about 30 minutes or so after the concert, and it was purely the music doing it. The music was just like changing my brain waves or something. It had me in this completely different state, and it was incredible. I'd never felt anything quite like that at a concert without being medicated on something else, right? Like it was a pretty cool experience. It's very intense.
Yeah, music. There's something about it. We don't quite understand it, I think. But every culture, every religion has come back to music. They've even forbidden it some places because it's too powerful. The original euphoria.
Yeah, it definitely does something to you. I don't.
Let's
I'm not a person that knows a lot about brainwaves, and actually, Spencer has definitely gotten into trying to understand brainwaves better. Spencer did have a brain injury, or does have a brain injury that is working through healing, and so there's a lot of things that Spencer's been looking into to help with that healing process. And so understanding brainwaves and how the brain functions is one of those important parts that Spencer's been digging into and on his healing journey. So I don't want to go too far into it on this show. Like
yeah,
I know that you know a lot about this subject.
I do. I've learned a lot. Similar. It's amazing how similar our bodies and brains and neurology is very similar to how a distributed computer system works, and probably similar to how AI works and regular computing, quantum computing, and there's a lot of similarities there. And yeah, I have had a chance to learn more about how my own body works, including my brain and modalities, neurofeedback and QEGs and talk therapy and just things to get everything back online or the best it can be. So yeah, well, I can't wait for that episode. That'll be fun to dive into.
Well, and I think
Maybe
it
AI can
sort of
help us
sort of
figure some more
crosses
of that
over into
out.
here with like I wonder how AI will help people heal in the future. There are certain things that
Mm.
could make a lot of sense for a lot of conditions where AI can actually start to become almost a therapy of some kind, a therapist, maybe. There's so much potential here.
Yeah, through my own experience, I'm excited. I was glad to have my reliable engineering experience of pulling different data sources and information from various places over years and making sense of that because there's not really very many doctors in this world that you can find that can look at the human body as a whole. Most of them are, especially Western medicine, are very, very specialized. And so it's been an adventure for myself and my doctors that I've been working with to work together and share information. What the hell is going on? So yeah, it is very interesting to think that, Jim. I actually was thinking about the AI therapist when we were talking earlier about AI. We're talking to, judgment dad or non-judgment dad. I mean, what would that do to you long term? You would need the AI therapist with regular therapists behind the scenes to kind of keep some quality control on it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, quality is interesting, especially in technology. I pray as we move further into AI that quality is invested in as number one and not as a side thing.
It's so tricky though with what you were describing. I mean, Spencer, like the idea of in healthcare, part of the problem too is that none of the doctors you talk to have all the information about you. Sure, they might have the nose, but then there's so much data that you have about yourself, and that is just not codified in any place. And so I think you have an edge where you were an engineer who looked across the systems, and you're also taking ownership in this way that I think a lot of people can't. I do wonder about that with the new set of tools. I think it'll be harder because I think with AI, it's going to be as it gets more persuasive and you trust it more. I think it'll just be harder to kind of take that agency because you think about talk therapy, right? Part of the way like you pay for somebody to help manipulate you a little bit, and like you want them to slowly, insidiously, and change the way you think. And so that's a big risk with all of this. I do think AI is going to help a lot, though. If you think about like DBT and any kind of therapy where it's like you have to reflect, you have to do some structured reflection. Maybe there's some behavioral nudges along the way. It's not medical advice for sure, but as a companion, which is a lot of what I mean people need nowadays, there's a lot of good that can come out of it for sure, especially if it's overseen by like a licensed practitioner. Yeah, a lot of good can come out of it.
There's so many possibilities here. I was just thinking, companionship. There are people who are gamers that they could potentially end up playing some PlayStation, Xbox game, whatever console. They might at some point end up playing with AI players that are, that they can't tell the difference, that they're not human. They're an actual AI on, in the game because a company
I'm pretty
wants an
sure
AI
that's
in there.
already happening.
Yeah, maybe.
I am very sure that's already happening.
But like I mean like physically talking as well, like interacting over the
Oh,
headset, because we're not that far off, right? I mean,
Oh, that's so
yeah,
easy.
it's pretty
Yeah,
easy stuff. So let's say there's a game that doesn't have a lot of players, right? It might be an older game or whatever. There's not enough real human players online. Well, put some AI players in there, make it seem like there's a bunch of humans in there.
just talk trash over the headset.
Exactly.
Be like, I'm coming for you.
Exactly.
Be terrifying.
Oh, let's talk about this. So that leads me into a subject that's really interesting from an advertising perspective. There was some movie. I can't remember the name of the movie. It was a long time ago. I saw this movie, and there was a screen that used facial recognition and identified a person and advertised directly to them.
Minority
Was it
Report.
Minority Report? Okay, and it advertised directly to them. And so, as we're having this conversation, that's one of the things that keeps spinning around in my head. It's like, if they know who I am and if they have all of my data on all of my preferences, they being like entities now, we're freely feeding ourselves to all of the free platforms that we use, right? We're freely feeding our data. So, they have a good idea of who I am, what I like. Now they could identify me and advertise directly to me with something that they know I'll be interested in. And that's probably not really very far away at all.
Personalization, it's one of the big things. I mean, so Pixie's mission is to personalize anything AI can create, so we're very much in that realm. Our focus is marketing and advertising. I think that's going to apply for everything though. Like I think the YouTube disruptor that comes along is going to be some platform where instead of Mr. Beast like broadcasting to millions, he talks to you. And even this podcast, maybe, listener, we would say your name, and we would go deeper on topics that you found interesting and go faster on stuff that you didn't like, or maybe skip it altogether. And so we would have 8 billion versions of every podcast episode, and it would happen on the fly. We wouldn't need to store it anywhere. It would happen on the fly. Video games, completely personalized. Food, music, movies. Everyone will have a slightly different experience of whatever disrupts Netflix. This is how these incumbents will get disrupted if they don't do it themselves. They might do it themselves, I think, but yeah.
That's crazy to think about. I can't imagine how the world of the future, it's going to feel like you're the center of the universe as a human. Like everything is revolving around you.
Huh, now that you say it that way, it doesn't sound that
It
great.
doesn't. No, it's a very, it brings up some very bad possibilities that we're going to be like the movie Wall-E. Remember Wall-E with the people on the ship, and they were just these very large immobile versions of humans that just kind of were there and were catered to.
Yeah, I think we have to remember that humans do have agency, and so now we're starting to see even so people complain Gen Z is all digital and they're all on their phones and stuff, but they're kind of spending a lot of money outside the house now, right? And they're going to festivals, they're going to concerts, they're seeking real life interaction. Concerts are more popular, more expensive than they've ever been, because I think people are just like, hey, like enough of this phone thing. Let me get out there. So it's plausible, yes, that we're just too indulgent and we love it so much. But I'm sure we'll go to church, or we'll go and join like a running club, or something that actually has a physical human element to it. That we share something common in common. I think that's what's missing.
I hope so.
Yeah. I know I've been craving that since COVID is getting out. I go to yoga almost every day and see people and the community. I have a writers group every couple of weeks I go to and talk to other writers and sit there and write. And I'm part of the Newcastle Arts Council where I live, and try to bring creativity to the area and help other people get out and create also. So I think it'll be needed. I mean, I guess one question comes to me is, how do you know whether you're talking to AI or not? That's such a gray space. I watched the movie Her last night, which was around AI, and it's very interesting. Like the emotions, even I felt going through watching it, like, oh my God, is this where we're headed? The emotions I felt coming through the movie was isolation without being isolated. Um,
Yeah, like
you had everything you ever wanted or needed, and all your needs met.
what is that human emotion? And
Go ahead, Jim.
like in the movie Her, right? The AI. If anybody hasn't seen that movie, there's a guy that has an AI. There's basically like an AI operating system, and the AI operating system becomes sentient, essentially, and it becomes his girlfriend ish, I guess you would call it. Becomes sort of his girlfriend, and they have a relationship mentally, right? This mental relationship. And what are our emotions? What are they pinned to? Like, I know my wife, I love her mind, right? And so if an AI has a similar type of mind, is that another sentient being at that point? And is there anything wrong with that? Even like, should be embraced. I think if there's two sentient beings that develop feelings, whatever a feeling actually is, and have emotions for each other. I don't know. It's a weird space. It's a weird thing to think about. And that's what that whole movie Her is really about. It's about thinking about, deep thoughts about what is probably coming.
I think we're going to start having conversations about this. What's coming? So definitely big policy debates about stuff like this. I mean, civil unions between man and machine. I don't know, 2026 elections, 2028. I don't know. Okay, so what are the big things that are coming? 3 big things. So one is agents. Going to talk a lot about agents. Agents are super important. You're going to see them everywhere.
Like Mr. Smith? No, wait, what was the agent's name? That kind of agent that's going to kill me?
Well, not all of them will kill. Some of them will, which is also very scary. The 2 other things we'll just hit quickly. I think you probably already get this from just the conversation we've had so far. But so personalization we talked about, where everything you want immediately personalized to your perfect tastes and just like perfect. And then every modality, right? So we have text now, image, code, design. That's what we do. But soon we'll have video, we'll have animation, eventually AR, right? So we can actually be inside of a commercial, or be inside your childhood home, or be in Greece or whatever. Video games are coming. I think we'll have physical robots. Like you'll have household physical robots, I think, in about 2026 for like 70,000. And then thereafter it'll drop to about 50,000. So about an expensive car. You get a payment plan on it, helps you do all your chores. So that's going to happen pretty quickly. And then smell and touch, I think, is a little bit further off. But people are working on that as well. So agents. So what does an agent do? An agent is an AI that can make decisions and use tools on your behalf. And this completes, I said, create, consume, plan, and reason. They can plan and reason. So the good thing about agents is that, let's take that product manager example where I said, hey, currently you can tell ChatGPT, read these customer call notes, figure out the top bugs and the feature requests. You can then tell an agent at this next level, who is playing the product manager agent role, to prioritize the bugs based on our Q1 strategy, create tickets for them, and assign them to the right engineers based on capacity, and deprioritize the ones that don't make sense. The next level after that, once we have multiple agents working together, you can actually go send this product manager agent off to go talk to the salesperson's agent and the engineering lead's agent, and they can just duke it out. They can just have a negotiation like what happens in the real world of, hey, we have all these priorities. The salespeople will be like, hey, the users are wanting all these things. Can you guys deliver? And then engineering is like, hey, we need to focus, right? You'll have that negotiation like happens in the real world, and that extend that to anything in work. Personally, what this will look like is, hey Siri, plan me a trip to Mexico City, figure out what dates work for my friend, book us hotels and flights based on our budget and preferences. You have all my information. Go ahead and take care of it, and just send me a one-page itinerary. And that, I think, a version of that's going to come this year. Like Siri's going to get smart this year. Alexa will get smart this year, and then you'll have a bunch of companies who are pursuing agents as well. So companies like us are building now, knowing that the AI is not good enough. GPT-5 and that whole class of models is very much going after agents, and so that's what like the true sort of embodiment of AI is. Right now, it's all very cute, but it's gonna get very serious very quickly.
And what is the rate of all of this that's approaching us? How quickly, our companies iterating? How fast is this technology being improved?
So the rate of change is accelerating. So it's fast as hell, getting faster by the day. So I'm deep in this stuff. I read papers and like the latest breakthroughs, and it's like every week you're like, what? Like you're just taken aback, out of breath. And then we're also seeing kind of in other fields as well. I mentioned robotics, quantum is making noise. Fusion had a couple big breakthroughs last year where they actually created more energy than they consumed. And you start to bring all the space is taking off, and so we have cheap space travel and rocket launches and satellites and stuff like that. We have satellite communications coming. Synthetic biology is making moves, and so you have all these things kind of inflecting all together. AI is the first one, and they all look like the thing with exponential curves. They're kind of flat for a long time, and then they inflect, and then it just takes off like crazy. So for agents, I think 2024 is a good timeline where you start to have Siri and Alexa that are like actually useful to you. You start to have co-workers, AI co-workers who do work for you, and they get better and better. I think you start to have probably, I don't know, 5 million job losses this year.
Wow.
With AI. I think the 2024 election will be completely defined by AI. I think more than immigration or the economy or whatever the issues are today, it'll be like AI with the deep fakes, with the killer drones, with the job losses, with what does it mean to be human? How powerful should tech companies be? All these questions are going to come to the fore very, very quickly. And we'll have a lot of positive benefits too, right? Like new forms of creativity, new forms of music, enhanced learning, personalized learning for every student anywhere in the world, whether you're in Greenwich or you're in Lagos. Like you should have the best possible education, like top tier education wherever you are. Therapy will start to become sort of more prevalent and available for everyone. Aging, like I think I'm really excited about that possibility. From my grandmother and many people who are kind of getting older and older now, as much of our population is, we need people to care for them, and there's fewer younger people, and so robots can help a lot with that. So there's a lot of really, really positive things, a lot of really serious negative things that we'll have to confront, and it'll happen very, very quickly. So like if you're not using AI every day, you really got to start right now, because you'll be too late when it all happens.
It's an amazing picture of the future that you're painting, but it's also brings up a big mess that we really have to wade through in order to get to that future.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I think, sorry, the other piece I should mention is we talked about creation, consumption. So create, consume, plan, and reason. The last piece on reasoning helps with all this stuff that we talked about, like where should the flight be, and when should I order Monty's dinner, like all that kind of stuff has to happen. But then you can also start getting like the litmus test a lot of folks use in the space is physics breakthroughs. Can AI create new physics breakthroughs? And in every realm of science, right? Physical science. And so if you start to say, okay, well, can AI help us cure diseases that we've been struggling with for a long time? Can we actually finally do something about cancer? And then beyond that, I mean, what about decarbonization? Like if you walk around your kitchen, everything is basically made of some kind of plastic or some kind of oil-based derivative. And so we're so dependent on oil. And so can we have something that's, biodegradable and made from synthetic biology? Can we have unlimited food finally, and not have people, struggling? Can we 3D print unlimited homes with like novel breakthroughs in material science? So that's the future that I'm excited for. And that's why I'm in the space is, unlimited everything for free comes with a lot of, benefits and a lot of ending to human suffering, and a lot of delight, a lot of time to, be together, paint, sing, talk, sip cacao.
Rum, whatever it is. What I'm hearing is buckle up. It's about to be a wild ride. So, with that, that's a wrap for this episode of Triple B. We hope you join us for our next show. Until then, have a great day and be good to each other.
Take care, everybody.
Take care of yourselves.